The three main components when we talk about governance for sustainability really come down to board oversight, management accountability, and how do you tie evaluation, compensation, and benefits around sustainability all at the same time. When we talk about board oversight, what does this truly mean around sustainability? It's not just allowing the board of directors to rubber stamp what the company does from a social environmental perspective, but it's actually saying they need to be providing oversight and being held accountable for the company's corporate sustainability strategy and their performance. And this is an area that needs addressing. For many companies, asking them to put sustainability into the board governance part of their mission is really difficult. I can't tell you how many times I've worked with organizations where we talk about them wanting to integrate sustainability across their entire organization, and they say, okay, well, are you going to add it to your board governance and your accountability structures? And then they say, whoa, 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 our board will never go for that. And that's a reality. A lot of organizations struggle with that. And so even though things have been improving, still only about 32% of companies' board of directors actually oversee the sustainability performance. And we found that within organizations that do have, board governance around sustainability, most are not taking direct ownership. They might have a board committee that's, overseeing governance and sustainability, but only 5% actually have requirements, in terms of outside expertise around sustainability issues, around social environmental issues. Now, if you think about it, when a board committee is being composed, say the finance committee or the audit committee, usually there has to be some level of expertise or qualifications for doing that. But a lot of organizations, instead of actually recruiting and making sure that people have that for their board, are allowing them to hire outside counsel to support them. So actually, over 90% of board committees that are in charge of sustainability at say, the Fortune 500 level or above, actually use outside counsel to help provide that expertise and advice. All that being said, there are some true leaders in sustainability in terms of board governance. Let's use the example of Intel. All the way back to 2003, the board's corporate governance and nominating committee has had a formal responsibility for not only reporting to the board on corporate social responsibility and sustainability related issues, but also for reviewing and recruiting individuals to it. In fact, a number of the directors have expertise in key corporate responsibility areas, not just governance, but also education and environmental responsibility. Northern Trust is also a leader in this regard as well. The board's business strategy committee oversees the company's corporate social responsibility strategy, and they actually have an executive vice president who not only leads the CSR office, but they report directly to the company's board chair. And one of my favorite examples is Prudential Financial. They actually include sustainability expertise as a core criterion for board member selection when they're looking at their sustainability and governance and their committee assignments for their board. Prudential's really taking a lead on that. They're showing that it's actually not enough to just say, yeah, I've got some interest in it, or I've managed the company's environmental stuff at some other organizations I work for. They're saying they want to see demonstrated experience and expertise as a core criteria for getting board selection. So we talked about the board. Now let's talk about the executives. At the C-suite level, they're performing better, but this area still remains weak. So while many companies state that sustainability is important and they'll have a CEO commitment maybe in their annual report and certainly in their corporate social responsibility report, the number of companies who are actually walking the talk and holding management accountable around sustainability performance is less than 50%. So it's not just the CEO signing off on it, but it's the entire C-suite. It's the chief operating officer, the chief financial officer, the chief marketing officer. All of these individuals need to be held accountable. And what we're seeing is that and again, the numbers are increasing, it's still less than 50% of all of the Fortune 500 companies that are doing this. Again, there are some true leaders in accountability around management for sustainability. 3M actually has a high-level corporate operating committee that comprises the CEO and direct reports that oversees the company's sustainability principles, goals, strategies. So they're being held not only accountable, but they're helping set the company's strategy on sustainability. They're not just offloading it to the company's CSR director and saying, yeah, go ahead, create your goals, create your visions, bring them to us. They're actually taking an active stake in overseeing the company's principles, goals, and strategies for going forward around sustainability. Probably one of my favorite case studies is Disney. Their chief financial officer, Jay Ruzello, not only had the responsibility of the company's finances, but also overseeing corporate citizenship at Disney. Now, this connection goes back to Disney's founding with Walt Disney, where he saw that financial performance and corporate citizenship were considered inseparable. What Ruzello helped Disney create was a climate solutions fund. It actually helped fund an internal carbon price, and the revenues from that fund have been not only invested in carbon offset projects, but it's also provided a way to give engineers incentives to create innovative ways of taking their internal operations and putting them in a more energy efficient and creative and innovative, manner. Whether that's their theme parks, their cruise ships, their corporate buildings, how they, handle a movie production. This is a way that they're not only looking to just tell the PR story of what they're doing, but they're actually putting an internal price on carbon and using that revenue to help implement and act on the ideas that they want to do in terms of their own internal operations. Xylem, which is a global water technology provider, not only, has management accountability around sustainability, they actually identify and name the senior executives that are tasked with accountability for sustainability performance. It's one thing to have governance and accountability around sustainability, but how do you truly want to motivate people to get on board? Well, the number one motivator and also enforcement agent around making sure sustainability is implemented correctly is by aligning it with people's evaluation and compensation. I like to say when you start dinging people on their evaluations, or you start hitting them in their pocketbook or on their bonuses, or maybe even reducing their base pay, they tend to pay attention. It doesn't matter what the issue is. So by tying sustainability and compensation, just like anything else, it can provide a very effective way for ensuring that your sustainability performance is going to stick within your organization for the long term. And this quote from CEO Hugh Welsh of Royal DSM North America, I think just hits it out of the park. It says that the reaction amongst, the executive community is about what you expect. Whenever you touch someone's money, it becomes a priority. And, I like to think back to a potential client we worked with a few years ago in New England, where, we met with their CSR director and their corporate leadership team, and they said, we want to be the greenest company in our industry. We want to knock it out of the park. We want to do absolutely everything to green our organization. And then I asked the question, I said, well, that's great, but what do you want to do in terms of tying your own compensation and evaluations around sustainability? And he was just pure crickets. The room went incredibly silent. They had that moment of saying, well, gosh, I didn't know you were going to do that. We said, well, yeah, that's what really is going to make sustainability, stick for the long term. And let's just not only do it at the high level, let's do it across the board. Let's go look at middle management. Let's find a way you start tying compensation, evaluation, and benefits to employee performance. And then you're going to see sustainability really become embedded within the organization. They said, well, I don't know if we're really ready to take that on. We want to be the greenest company, but let's just put that on to phase 2. Now, we knew right then and there that they were never going to actually implement to their full opportunity. They weren't going to realize all the business value and business innovation they could attain without doing that. They weren't willing to truly walk the talk. And this phenomenon is, again, not just reserved for that potential client. But the IRRC Institute and the Sustainable Investments Institute found that when they did a survey of the S&P 500, that 43% of the companies actually linked executive compensation to some type of sustainability criteria. They realized this is an effective and empowering way to make it happen. Utilities have led the way around linking compensation and sustainability for a long time. Now, if you think about it, a lot of this was compliance driven, but if you're an energy utility or a water utility or waste management utility, you're traditionally going to be compensated for the company's performance. And so it's no surprise that a company, say like Xcel Energy, has been a leader in this space. They're tying compensation to demand side management, which means reductions in energy consumption by its customers. So it's not enough for the company to say, well, we've been more efficient internally. The CEO and the executives are actually being compensated by saying, what are you doing to make the world better? What are you doing to actually make things cheaper and more efficient and do better for the environment, for our customers? And by reducing the amount of energy or water or waste that's being generated that helps our benefit, we're actually reducing the amount of energy we need to create, and we're going to compensate you on that. Intel links a portion of every executive's compensation to CSR factors, like the company's carbon footprint, what they've demonstrated through cost savings, maybe through recycling, or on the social side in terms of employee satisfaction and morale. Apple's management is evaluated partly based on the company's energy use and their performance in that regard. And Campbell's Soup evaluates their executives based partly on social justice and environmental criteria, but they're actually taking a bigger look, and it makes sense because Campbell's Soup is a consumer food-based company. So they're being evaluated on criteria such as reducing hunger, childhood obesity, diversity, and the traditional environmental factors of water and energy use. So it goes beyond just thinking about what are they doing on energy, water, and waste, but what are you doing in terms of the social components as well? If you're linking compensation and sustainability to the social side of sustainability, you're truly taking the most comprehensive look, and you're going to be able to embed that in executives' mindsets for the long term by tying it to their compensation.